Wow, Ben, look at this amazing crowd we have gathered here in Winnipeg tonight. Woo! Phenomenal, phenomenal. Well, my name is Ginette Lavack. I am your Liberal candidate in the riding of St. Boniface, St. Vital. So happy to be here with you tonight. Mon nom est Ginette Lavack. Je suis tellement fière de faire partie de la circonscription de Saint-Boniface-Saint-Vital. I'd like to begin tonight by recognizing that we are gathered here today on Treaty 1 territory. Homeland. This is the homeland of the Anishinaabe, the Ininu, the Anishinaabe, the Dakota, the Dene, Inuit in the far north, and the birthplace, and homeland of the Red River Métis. Je suis tellement fière de représenter le Parti libéral, parce que ça, c'est le parti qui défend les droits des francophones, des communautés marginalisées, et qui nous fait avancer sur le chemin de la réconciliation avec les peuples autochtones. Je veux tellement faire partie de cette belle équipe qui travaille sans relâche pour améliorer la vie au quotidien de tous les gens ici au pays. Faire partie de cette grande famille libérale, c'est choisir l'action, c'est choisir le progrès et un avenir où personne n'est laissé pour compte. Et je ne suis pas seule dans cette conviction-là. Ce qui m'inspire, ce qui me rassure profondément, c'est de voir la vague d'engagement qui grandit autour de nous. Justement, la majorité des bénévoles qui se joignent à notre équipe, ce sont des gens qui le font parce qu'ils sentent un profond besoin d'agir. They don't want to stand on the sidelines anymore. Everyone getting involved in my campaign, in all of our campaigns. So many are first-timers. We're here for the right reasons. We need to act if we want change to happen. We need to take action now. And it's a really, really strong sign. C'est un vraiment beau signe de l'élan qui va nous porter vers l'avenir. Avec Mark Carney, on a la personne qui saura faire avancer notre pays dans cette période charnière. On a vraiment, moi je suis convaincue qu'on a le bon leader pour nous guider dans ce moment crucial. Il y a une énergie renouvelée au Canada. Il y a vraiment un nouvel espoir parmi les Canadiens et Canadiennes qui est incroyable. Puis c'est vraiment grâce à Mark Carney. C'est lui qui nous rassemble pour bâtir un Canada toujours plus fort. Yes. J'invite mon ami Ben à nous dire quelques mots aussi.
Merci, Ginette. Hello, everybody. Let's hear it for our wonderful candidate, notre candidat extraordinaire dans Saint-Boniface-Saint-Vital, Ginette Lavack. My name is Ben Carr. I am the proud Liberal candidate in Winnipeg South Centre. Now, is liberalism alive and well on the prairies or what? You know, the energy and enthusiasm that we are seeing and feeling in this room tonight is exactly what my colleagues behind me and I have been feeling at the door every single day of this election campaign. And the reason for that is that Canadians want a strong leader who can meet the moment. Canadians want a leader with experience under crisis, a leader with composure, a leader with strong character, and a leader who will always defend the rights and the interests of Canadians from coast to coast to coast. They're not interested in toxicity, divisive rhetoric, name-calling and sloganeering that's empty, taken out of the Republican playbook. What they want is they want hope and vision that will propel Canada into a rapidly changing world with confidence and with grace. So before we hear from our leader, from our Prime Minister, it is my honor to introduce somebody who knows him better than anybody. Please join me in welcoming Madame Diana Fox Carney.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you. Good evening. This is my first rally, so I'm really honored to be here with you today. Bonjour tout le monde. It's my great pleasure to be here today to tell you a little bit more about someone that I know well and that you're just beginning to get to know. So I'm going to take you back to our first date. Which was a long time ago. We were both grad students, and I barely remember it. But we did go out to dinner, and it was a very nice dinner, and I was pretty excited, and we were having a great conversation, when Mark suddenly stopped everything and said, "There's something you need to know. I'm committed to move back to Canada." We were in the UK at the time. "I'm committed to move back to Canada and to work in the public service." And I thought two things at that point. The first was, this is a man of unusual conviction, of integrity, of values, and of deep belief. He has a deep belief in service to his country, something that was not that common in grad students at the time. The second thing I realized was that perhaps the romantic side might need a little bit of work, but we made it. We made it on both counts. And it's not surprised me in the slightest that Mark has fulfilled his commitment to himself and to Canada, and he has risen to the enormous challenges that we now face. In fact, I'll say that rising to challenges is really one of Mark's distinguishing characteristics. And faced with a challenge, he hits the ground running. He's agile, he's adaptable, he's calm and cool under fire. Bravo! And he's able to draw on his incredible memory and a depth and breadth of experience which really is second to none. Sometimes this can be a challenge when you're trying to argue against him, but most of the time, it's great. But I've seen him rise to challenges. I saw him rise to the challenge of the 2008 financial crisis. I saw him rise when we were in the UK. I saw him rise to the challenge of Brexit. And now I see him rise to the challenge of Trump's tariffs and of reimagining this great country, its economy, and its future. I have no doubt that he will move ahead with his characteristic resolve and resolute leadership. So, as his partner, I am immensely proud of him. And as a Canadian, I am enormously grateful that the guy I met 30 years ago has held so tight to that strong commitment to public service. I'm lucky to have him. We're lucky to have him. So, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce my husband, your Liberal leader, and the Prime Minister who will make Canada strong, and Canada for all.
Mon Dieu. Ouh. C'est un miracle, hein? It's a miracle there was a second date. I'm very, very, very fortunate. Wow. Thank you, Winnipeg. Winnipeg for the welcome. Thank you, Diana. Well, it's not just 30 years, 33 years. I have to be right. Last word. Last word. I get the last word. Non, non. Quel plaisir. C'est un grand, grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous et avec nos candidats exceptionnels libéraux pour Winnipeg et pour Manitoba ici. C'est incroyable. Et j'ai quelques questions. I have a question. Who's ready? Who is ready? Who is ready to stand up for Canada? Who's ready to stand up for Canada? And to stand up for Canada, we need you to be ready for one other thing. We need you to be ready. Who's ready to stand up for the Liberal Party for the most consequential election in our lifetime? Fantastic. That's what we need. That's what we need, Winnipeg. You know, I first put up my hand to run for Liberal leader because I knew we needed big changes in Canada. We needed big changes to get our economy back on track. We needed big changes to help all Canadians to get ahead. And when I put my hand up, I wasn't a politician. I'm not a career politician. But I was, yeah, I think it might be an advantage. I think it might be an advantage. I've got some others with me. But I was then and I am still a pragmatist. And so when I'm a pragmatist. When I see something that's not working, I change it. And that's exactly what we did during my first week as Prime Minister. Homes, we all know housing is way, way, way too expensive. So we cut taxes on them in our first week. We knew that a capital gains tax hike was stifling builders, holding back innovators, so we reversed it. And we knew that the consumer carbon tax looked good on paper, but was too divisive, so we eliminated it, and we did that on day one. And if you drove by a gas station today, or better yet, if you filled up, you'd have seen savings up to 18 cents per liter at the pump. But that's not all. That's not all. Because affordability is about much, much more than changing the tax code. We expanded the Liberal dental care plan to cover an additional 5 million people aged 18 to 64. That's savings of at least $800 a year for each of those people. You're welcome, Tom. You're welcome. On a renforcé nos relations commerciales avec l'Union européenne pour que nos exportateurs soient moins dépendants des États-Unis. Et durant la première semaine, on a conclu une entente importante avec l'Australie et renforcé notre coopération militaire avec la France et le Royaume-Uni pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et Canadiennes. Et on accélère la réalisation importante de projets d'infrastructure et on fait du Canada une superpuissance des énergies vertes et traditionnelles. Ouais. Et on s'est entendu pour que chaque projet soit soumis à une seule évaluation. One project, one evaluation. We're moving forward fast. And at the end of the first week, we sat down with all the premiers, the provinces and territories, and we agreed to eliminate barriers to trade and labor mobility inside our country. One economy, not 13. And I'm trying to think of when the last time all the premiers agreed on anything, except that they hate the federal government. But we got that agreement. Canada is coming together. One economy, not 13. And the way you lead, in my experience, the way you lead is by example. So the federal government is going to do our bit. We will legislate by July 1st the removal of all our barriers, free trade in Canada by Canada Day. And we want to make these measures concrete. So we announced major investments in the Hudson Bay Railway and the Port of Churchill. And I had the pleasure and honor of meeting with the Premier Canoe earlier today. And that is just the start of what we're going to do for that port and to open up the north in Manitoba. In 9 days, in just 9 days as government, we did more than Pierre Poilievre has imagined in all his decades in politics. And that's if he had an imagination and didn't just mimic Donald Trump. Okay. It's not him. Got ugly in here. Peace boy. It's that was a tough look. Then we began our campaign. On day one, we announced a middle-class tax cut, delivering savings of up to $825 per year for your family. The following day, we released our plan for a much stronger, better equipped Canadian Armed Forces to keep our nation safe and our sovereignty unchallenged. And the day after that, we were in Windsor to unveil our strategy for a more resilient made-in-Canada auto sector. And we announced vital steps to protect our workers. In Montreal, we set out our plan to invest in new infrastructure for new trade routes and ports to diversify our trade away from the United States. And just yesterday, we announced an ambitious new strategy to double the pace of new home construction over the next decade. 500,000 homes a year. And you can't just say that. You need the full strategy. We're getting the government back in the business of building affordable homes for those who most need it. We're going to cut regulation and development costs so that the market sector works better. We are going to catalyze. We are going to create an entirely new housing industry in this country based on modular, prefabricated, mass timber housing. We will create not just tens of thousands of new jobs. We will create hundreds of thousands of new careers in the trades. This is, we used to build things in this country. We're building things again. This is a big, big deal. Housing supply up, costs down, making home ownership a reality again for everyone, especially for young Canadians. All of that just in a few weeks. And just think of what we could do together. If the Liberal Party, to keep it going, the Liberal Party needs a strong, positive mandate from Canadians on April 20th. And we need that mandate. We need it because we as a country are facing the most significant crisis of our lifetimes. We are. Elbows up. Because, and we know the cause of this. This is President Trump's unjustified tariffs and his threats to our sovereignty. Canada strong. Canada strong. Canada strong. That sounds like me on the phone to him last week. I said I reject any attempts to weaken Canada. Any attempts to wear us down. Any attempts to break us so that America can own us, because that is our strategy. That is their strategy. That's what they want to have happen. But that will never happen. Never, ever happen. That is, we in this great country, across the country, it suits you that. Across this great country, we're getting over. I think we are over the shock, and it was a shock, the shock of this betrayal. But we should never, ever forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves. And crucially, we have to look out for each other. We need a united front of workers, of labor, of business, of governments, all levels of government, helping each other to weather the storm. Help farmers, help small businesses, help workers, help veterans, help nurses, teachers, help all of us, everyone helping all of us to weather the storm. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Indigenous. From the start. That's why, as a first step, our government's committed to put every single dollar we collect from the retaliatory tariffs we're putting in against the Americans to support our workers. And our message to those south of the border is, we didn't ask for this fight. We didn't ask for this fight. But Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. In this trade war, just like in hockey, just like in soccer, I might add, we will win. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. We don't really want it. Nice place to visit. I'm not sure we want. Yeah. Look, hockey. Like many of you, hockey has played a big part in my life. And I grew up with I grew up with the values that I learned at the rink, at the kitchen table, and in the classroom. My parents were teachers, and they stressed, stand up for teachers, yeah. They stressed the importance of working hard. They stressed the importance of community and tolerance and the importance of caring, always caring for other people. My hockey coaches taught me to be ambitious, to be tough, but to be humble. Very Canadian combination, ambitious and humble. These are the values, if I may, these are the values of Winnipeg. These are the values of Canada. And I kept those values close to me when I was managing crises here in Canada and around the world. And I remembered them whenever I was working to build stronger economies. And now I'm drawing on them. I'm drawing on those values to stand up to Donald Trump and with you to build the strongest economy in the G7, an economy that works for everyone. Now, there's someone who doesn't get this. Someone who doesn't get this, bringing everyone together to build together. And Pierre Poilievre doesn't get any of this because, and I've seen this movie around the world before, he's that type of lifelong politician who worships, literally worships at the altar of the free market, despite never having actually worked in the private sector or made a payroll. Yeah. It's all very easy. It's all very easy until you actually have to do it. His reflex is always to cut and destroy. Well, President Trump's plan is to divide and conquer us. Pierre Poilievre's plan is to divide and be conquered. No way. But this is no time. This is no time for divisive, angry politics. Negativity won't win a trade war. Negativity won't pay the rent or the mortgage. Negativity won't bring down the price of groceries. Negativity won't make Canada strong. And someone who believes our great country is broken won't put Canada first. If we're going to win this battle, and we will win it because we are strong and united. With Indigenous. Nous gagnerons cette bataille si nous sommes unis et forts. Nous pouvons nous disputer au sujet de la politique. Nous pouvons nous disputer à propos d'hockey. On peut être même une fan des Oilers ici à Winnipeg. Avant les playoffs. C'est un pays libre. C'est un pays libre. OK, peut-être pas. OK. Mais quand il s'agit du Canada, nous sommes tous de même côté. Choisissons d'être forts. Canada fort. You know, it's Canada strong because it's our strength that the Americans want. They want our resources. We're in Manitoba. They want our water. Can't have it. They want our land. They want our country. Never. Because Canada is not America. Canada is not America. Canada, let's think about it. Canada is a mosaic. Canada is a mosaic. You look, we're all Canadian here. Look at all the identities around. It's beauty. It's beautiful. Yeah. America is a melting pot. In America, healthcare is a big business. In Canada, healthcare is a right. aux États-Unis, on ne reconnaît pas les différences. On ne reconnaît pas les peuples autochtones. Et il n'y aura jamais de droit pour la langue française. Les États-Unis ne sont pas le Canada. Et le Canada n'en fera jamais partie des États-Unis, jamais. Canada will never, ever be part of America in any way, shape, or form. So we're in this crisis. What do we do? What do we do? Fight. How do we fight? How do we fight? Hard, okay. Okay. Thank you. What? The first thing in a crisis is you have to distinguish between what you can change and what you can't. And I'm not sure this is a big insight, but I'm not sure we can change Donald Trump. I certainly know that a person who worships Donald Trump like Pierre Poilievre will kneel down before him before he stands up to him. With Pierre Poilievre, everything will be on the table. And don't take my word for it. As Premier Smith of Alberta said, just saying. I'm just quoting. And I quote, Pierre Poilievre is in sync with President Trump. Sounds like a boy band. I don't think it's good. And we're in a situation, we're in this worst crisis with all these threats from abroad. And Pierre Poilievre refuses, for some reason, to get his security clearance. It is 934 days and counting, and I am counting. It took me 3 weeks. Yeah. So he is choosing to be willfully blind. It's a choice. It's willfully blind to the growing threats to our country. Pierre Poilievre, c'est la mauvaise personne au pire moment. Ouais. Et nous devons comprendre ce que nous pouvons et devons changer. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Nous pouvons contrôler notre destin économique avec un plan qui mettra plus d'argent dans vos poches. Un plan qui assurera que votre gouvernement dépense moins afin que le Canada puisse investir plus. We can control our economic destiny with our plan, with a plan where the government spends less so that Canada can invest more. With a plan that makes big polluters pay instead of hard-working Canadians. Yeah. A plan that builds millions and millions of homes. A plan that builds Canada into an energy superpower. A plan that builds new trade corridors with reliable trading partners. That'd be nice. A plan that creates one Canadian economy, not 13. A plan that puts more money in your pockets. Now, before I finish, I want to say a few words about why I'm a Liberal. Why many of us in this room are Liberals. Why I'd like all of you to be Liberals, with the exception of the media, who's neutral, of course. They're neutral. But I'm a Liberal, we're Liberals, because we are passionate about building a strong economy. But why are we passionate about that? We're passionate, of course, about the good, higher-paying jobs and the brighter futures for our children tomorrow. But our true passion goes back to that value of community, those Winnipeg values. Because as Liberals, we know that we are all in this together. And because we are all in this together, as I just said, healthcare in Canada is a right, not a business. Because we're all in this together, our government created $10 a day child care for hardworking families. Because we're all in this together, we created the Canadian Dental Care Plan for over 8 million Canadians who couldn't afford it. Because we're all in this together, we're fighting for a strong Canadian economy so we can create the jobs of the future and a more sustainable world for our children and grandchildren. I stand before you today, not because I promised Diana over 30 years ago I would do public service. It's a deeper reason. I stand before you because Canada has given me everything. Yeah, it's all right. My life, my family, my education, my values. And in return, I'm ready to give everything for Canada. So please join me. Please join me. Please send these great Manitoba Liberals to Ottawa to build Canada strong. Merci beaucoup. Vive le Canada.